Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the Head Revolt Pro 4.0, and I have to say, of all the new shoes of 2022, these are the ones that have actually intrigued me the most. I've been really excited to see what kind of Head's been able to build on with their really innovative midsole system. So these are actually a pretty interesting shoe to look at, and maybe something you have overlooked in the past. Let's get into them. Now, in terms of the uppers, the one thing that Head has done kind of different from some other brands is they've made their tongue more rugged instead of either more plush or more minimalist and neoprene like some of the other manufacturers. The tongue here is pretty padded, it is pretty thick. However, on the outside, it almost feels like a Kevlar type base on the outside. And what's nice about that is the shoelaces never dig into the top of your foot. Plus, they've got two lace eyelets in them, so it always stays in one spot, versus some of these other lighter weight shoes we've seen this year, where sometimes the tongue will start slipping in the sides of your foot and it gets really annoying. The other thing I like about the Revolt Pro 4 versus the 3 and the 3.5 is the uppers have a lot more polyurethane on them. Now they're cut in a way to where they still breathe really well. However, me being a real big toe dragger when I hit my forehands, it's kind of nice having a lot more stability in the uppers versus some of the older ones that were a little bit softer in the uppers. But even though the uppers are completely encased in polyurethane and much more stable than previous versions, that ankle collar is still pretty low. So if you are really aggressive side to side moving, I would use that back eyelet, either do the runner's knot, which is what I really like to do in these shoes, or just use all the eyelets, and that will secure them a lot more. Remember, this is still a more minimalist upper. They do still come down pretty low on your ankle. So if you're looking for a ton of side to side stability, remember these are a little bit more minimalist. The one thing I do like though about the 4.0 versus previous versions and just other minimalist or lightweight shoes is that the heel counter is really made of some stiff, tough material back here versus some other shoes in the lightweight category where that heel counter will just flop back and forth on you. This actually stays pretty darn stable. Now on the upper durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. Dremel didn't make much of an impression on that polyurethane layer, so just as I suspected when on court, super durable uppers while staying pretty breathable. And getting into the midsole teardown, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you'll know Head midsoles are some of my absolute favorite. They are 3 different densities. Super high density directly under the heel, that's the white foam. The black foam is a pretty low density foam, and then in the forefoot is their higher density foam. What I like about that is that your foot is able to get a pretty good mold into the forefoot of the shoe. Because the foam in the forefoot is so high density, you're really just kind of molding it to your foot shape. You're not bottoming it out like some other shoes like I kind of talked about. And in the heel, remember, if the foam in the heel is too low of a density, you'll just rock right back into it, and that can actually be bad for your Achilles tendon, and you actually lose a lot of performance that way. Whereas on the Head shoes, it's got pretty high density foam right under your heel, and that kind of shields that more low density foam underneath of that. So you're getting a lot of forgiveness in the heel, but also a lot of spring back from it too. It's a really intuitive design. And that's not even yet mentioning the best part of the midsole, which is the open shank with all the air channels that go right through the strobo board, in through the shank and out the bottom of the shoe. And that's giving you a ton of breathability right in the area where you're gonna sweat most, where all those sweat glands are right on your arch. So the part of your foot where you're producing the most heat is also where it's allowed to escape from the shoe the most. So just a really intuitive design on the midsole. It's kind of everything you need and just nothing you don't. Now, what I really like about the Revolt Pros is they're actually really easy to get off the ground, and they're really nimble going front to back. If you see me trying to go for those little overheads, it's actually a little harder to get to overheads on the wall, and I know I got to hit it right in front of it. So these shoes are actually really good at getting out of the way, as well as getting out of the way of my ground camera down here. You can see I'm filling myself right under my foot. And that light, nimble, quick footwork of the Revolt Pros is the reason I really like these for serve and volleyers and for doubles players, especially higher level doubles players, because the shoe just gets out of your way so easy, especially if you're up at the net, kind of fielding really quick volleys back and forth. The Revolt Pros are going to allow you to get out of your own way a lot faster than something maybe like more of a clunky shoe would. And I really think the jump height test just kind of speaks for itself. You know, I got 30.5 centimeters of serve jump height on these, which obviously isn't the highest I've gotten ever. However, for the profile of the shoe, it just goes to show you how well that midsole works and kind of giving you a springboard effect, especially off the serve. And also a huge thanks to Tennis Point USA for sending me these shoes and sponsoring these tennis shoe videos. Now, obviously they have no editorial control over these videos, and they're not telling me what to say, and of course all opinions are still my own, because like any good retailer would know, it's better to get the right shoe versus having to deal with a ton of returns. So if you do want to grab a pair of these, I will leave a link in the description below. All right, let's keep going. And getting into the outsole tread of the 4.0s, it is a variable width herringbone. You have a lot chunkier herringbone on the outside of the shoe for more grip, and then more flat herringbone on the inside of the shoe to allow sliding better, which a lot of shoes are kind of going that way. However, what I really like is its offset herringbone. It kind of comes to a peak, so the shoe does stay a lot more grippy in more awkward positions, and when your foot is kind of not just straight up and down center, which is actually a really good design, and some Adidas basketball shoes are also doing this, which I really like for basketball too. The other big thing I noticed about the 4.0 versus the 3 and 3.5 of the Revolt Pro is that the lateral flange is a little bit wider here in the outsole, which does allow a lot of suction cupping and a lot more stability going laterally. So not only are you getting a pretty decent tread profile in a variable width herringbone, but you're also getting a lot wider of a flange. So the shoe just overall is just a lot more stable all the way from the uppers all the way to the outsole versus previous models. And if you look at the durometer reading of the outsole rubber, 20.7, that objective test of hardness, which just blows away pretty much every other shoe I've tested this year, including Nike XDR and more of Adidas's harder rubbers. And if you look at the outsole durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, it also backs up that durometer reading, barely a scuff on the outsole tread. So these are going to be a really great durability option for more of a minimalist shoe, as well as the tread depth being pretty deep. You can actually use these on clay too in just their all-cord version. As you can see, even when I stepped on a really slick spot right there, there's like a wet leaf there before, these shoes would still grab and I was still able to hold my ground and keep the rally going. So these treads, even though they do have that 6-month durability guarantee, and they are pretty darn hard and durable, they still will grab even a really slick cold court. But the one thing I did notice about the uppers kind of combined with the midsole and the outsole is on the suicide test, I came in at 14.78 seconds, which isn't a terrible time. I just thought I would get a little bit faster in these. You know, the outsole grips really well, the midsole gives you a ton of spring back, and the lateral stability is good on the outsole. The only thing I did notice is because I'm a little bit of a heavier player, on the turns, I found myself kind of going through the uppers a little bit before I actually tied that back eyelet. So I will say, even though the uppers are much more supportive than previous models and more supportive on some minimalist shoes, they're definitely not a maximalist upper. So when you're going high speed on turns, just remember, if you're a hard court slider, these are going to do fantastic. However, if someone that likes to pivot hard on turns, you really better tie that back eyelet, or like I said, maybe just go up to a more maximalist option. Now the fit of the Revolt Pro 4.0 I think is the best upgrade of these. They actually do fit true to size now. I'd say if you're a medium or narrow foot, and just go true to size. If you're a 2E or above, you probably can go up that half size unless you are a 2E that likes a really snug fit. You really have zero break-in time, which I really like about that. The other thing I like about these is for heel pain or ball of foot pain, in a more minimalist option, these really do kind of carry the day just because of that really dense foam in the forefoot. So in terms of someone that has some previous injuries that wants more minimalist shoe, these definitely fit that bill. However, if you're someone that is a chronic ankle sprainer, I probably would go up to that more maximalist option. I think all in all, in terms of playability, the Revolt Pro, if you're somebody that plays outdoors in super hot, humid conditions and still wants a really fast, speedy shoe, I really don't think it gets much better than these. They just breathe so much better than most other shoes out there. They are really light and quick, and because of all that polyurethane in the upper now, they're a lot more durable than a lot of their other competitors. So I would say Head really owns that space right there, and just that little tweener option of shoe, not uber minimalist, not maximalist. It's kind of right in the middle. But of course, love to know your thoughts on the 4.0. Is this kind of the version that's going to get you to try a pair of Head shoes, or are you still looking for something in a different category? Let me know in the comments down below. And as I'm sure you know, the Revolt Pro is one of a few new shoes that come out recently. So if you want to see some of the other brand new shoes that have just come out this year, make sure you click on this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next video.